This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network. All right, Scoop Believers, let's get across the start line with Carrolee Moore, owner of Podcast Pitching Society. Let's go!
Yeah, I think failure is a comma. Failing is a comma, and failure is a period. And to me, and I can't say this for anybody else, to me, in my journey, the only way that I'm a failure is if I said, I'm done. Like, I give up. I can't do this. Now, do I have those moments? Yes. But finality of I'm completely done, I'm closing down my bit, that to me is a failure. I think that I fail every day. There are ideas that I thought were excellent that were not. There were programs that we started and we're like, that didn't work. And that was a part of all of it. I also think that people are formulating businesses in their heads and expecting it to be like $1 million business first run. When you formulate it in your head and you are making assumptions as to what works and what would work, you're setting yourself up not for just failing, but for failure.
Salutations, Scoop Believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Carrolee. Hi, Carrolee. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Scoop?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Super appreciate you.
Looking forward to this conversation for sure.
All right. So before we get started here, I just want to ask you a kind of semi-serious question, okay?
I have faith in you that this is not going to be a serious question, but go ahead.
I'm not quite a serious guy, am I? Okay. Are you a Scoop believer?
I am.
All right. Thanks for being a Scoop believer, Carrolee. I super appreciate it. That's fantastic. Woo! Okay. All right. All right, Carrolee, do me a favor here. And just right here in front, I'd like to know, who you are, what your entrepreneur adventure is, and how you got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Sure. So I really did not believe that I would ever be an entrepreneur. I started off thinking I was going to work in the music industry. I've always loved storytelling, so I thought I would be in music PR. I actually went and got an interview and went through the process of interning with Sony Music eons ago. Feels like a whole lifetime ago. And it just didn't happen. I ended up staying in Boston. A family member passed away that was super close to me, so I decided to hold off on my dreams. And, God had other plans. And so after going through college and studying communications and doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do, I graduated in the middle of the recession, and I ended up in project management in healthcare. I don't even know how that happened, but stayed there for a while. But I was building up on the side a business because I loved graphic design and I needed an outlet that I actually enjoyed because I had a job that I did not. And so for the next 10 plus years, no matter what I was doing in my corporate career, I was building up this thing on the side. I didn't know and understand that that was also entrepreneurship in its own form. I just really enjoyed what I was doing. And then I got paid to do it, which was great. It wasn't until the pandemic happened and I lost my job that I started getting an influx of people more than normal who were like, hey, I quit my job and I'm starting this business. Can you help me with branding? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with social media? And I kind of just decided in that moment, I'm going to give this a full shot and go fully into my entrepreneurship journey. And so that's what I did. And that first business was a hot mess because I'm going to be super honest. Anyone who's listening to me right now, who's thinking about entrepreneurship, I think the best advice that I can give someone is if you're going to do this, do it with your entire full self, full being, make the full decision. Don't halfway think I can maybe sort of kind of do this. I don't know. That energy, if you give your business that energy, that's what you're going to get back. And I don't think I understood that fully until 2 years in business and I really hadn't seen much profit. And then it really went very well on paper, right? My first business ended up being a multi-six-figure business, marketing agency, award winning, all of the things, trappings on paper, but it was a disaster in the background. And I actually was super burnt out. So I had to close that business down for my physical health, which was insanely hard to do because I had dreamed of getting to that moment of I'm running my own agency, I'm doing all the things, I'm making good money, at least the agency was. It all kind of came crashing down. I feel like for me, that was the line, even though I had been in business for years, that was the line that I really, for the first time, kind of made the decision to be an entrepreneur. It was no longer an accident. It was no longer a forced, like you're being forced to do this. I really wanted to understand how to build a business. And so that's, weirdly enough, years later, for me, last year was the year that I said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to build a thing for real.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great story. You've come a long way. It's amazing to me how you started like music industry and story, but then ended up doing a whole lot of other stuff that wasn't that. But now if you really think about it, you're kind of going back into that too, because now with the
Podcast, which
branding
is
and everything
exciting.
else,
Yeah.
you're kind of doing your own thing in that sort of same area too. So product management, I could see you going into that all of a sudden. It seems good at the time, but you just kind of, it sounds like you kind of did it just because somebody else told you to do it, or I mean, how did that work?
No, it's called needing money to pay rent.
Well, yeah.
I was 22 years old, ready to be out of my parents' house. I just needed and wanted something that was stable. And in that economy, PR was kind of looked at as like a nice to have. So there weren't a lot of PR jobs. And unfortunately, a lot of PR professionals who were seasoned were losing their positions, and then they were taking these like entry level positions just to have a job. And so folks like me were like, oh, I need experience to get the entry level job. Okay, I'm going to be over here. So that's kind of what happened with that. And I think the big part for me is I never stopped doing what I loved. And so even as I went for it in 2020 to build that business, I was coming in as a new entrepreneur, but not new to what I was doing. And that, I think, to anyone who's listening to this and thinking about, okay, I'm nervous about building this business. I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to do it. One of the things that you can absolutely kind of bet your bottom dollar on is if you are an expert, you really know your stuff, you can build a business. Like no matter what it is, there's going to be an audience because you actually know what you're talking about and what you're doing. Of course, we're going to talk about visibility in this conversation. So that's the lifeblood of your business, but you absolutely can. I don't think I understood that because at the time, less so now, but at the time when I started in 2020, there was a lot of noise on the internet streets. There's a lot of people giving a lot of, I can make you a millionaire with just 2 hours a week, selling you the, house, boat, and all the things. And those people are now in prison. So I think we're kind of back to reality a bit about what it really takes to build a business and not a hustle. And I think the almost 15 years I took building out my corporate career and still building out what I really love to do on the side helped me as I was going into full-time entrepreneurship, for sure.
Yeah, to me, we've gotten to the point now where we kind of filter through a lot of that, and now we know what is authentic and what is real
Yeah.
and what is actually in that person's feelings. Because when that first started, it was just like you saying, we were talking about this before we started. Like you have the people that says, I'll give you 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers on your Instagram or whatever it is. And you look at their Instagram, they only have like 200 or 300 followers. And why can't they do this for themselves? So I really feel that people can now kind of sniff out in authenticity. I don't know if that's a word. I made that up. And really go for the people who are authentic, not just to everybody else, but themselves too. Because you really have to be authentic to yourself too, especially when you're first getting out. I love that you put it in as a hot mess. That's a new technical term for me, because a lot of us, when we first get started, we really don't know 100% what we're doing. And it does turn into that hot mess. But I really think that's kind of like the entry level thing to do. You almost have to have that hot mess first to find where you need to be.
Yeah, I think so. address what you said before. I do think people being burned, or just the industry, especially coaching and consulting, having a come to Jesus moment, really, has led to a trust epidemic.
Mm.
There is, even the folks that do know what they're talking about and are authentic and wanting to really help, you're having to kind of now go through the hoops and do all the things to just prove, hey, I'm not just trying to take your money and do nothing, right? I'm not just one of these other people that are out here. And so we're finding that to be a huge gap between where you're messaging, what you're saying, whatever, and what people are actually experiencing, what they're hearing. And closing that gap, the people or the brands who close that gap the fastest are going to be the ones that grow. But to that end, I also believe the irony is, for business owners, they're so scared to fail or so scared to be a hot mess that they don't even put themselves out there for people to find enough things to say, okay, I trust you now. Because if you're waiting for something to be perfect while your competition is building in public, they're going to find people, they're going to find folks that are watching them build the thing in real time. And in doing that, also building the trust, because they're seeing the thing being built. They're trusting that, okay, this person is actually genuinely an expert, but they're now building their business, whatever the case is. You're wanting to start off polished and perfect. And what people are really wanting is for you to be your full self. Too many people, and I see this a lot, where you graduated from college last year and all of a sudden now you are a consultant trying to tell people how to run a business with what experience? You need the failures in as much as anything else to be able to give true and real expert advice. Becoming an expert, a part of that process is failing. And there's no getting around that. Building a multi-million-dollar business, there is no getting around failure. And again, I think we went through a whole entire era in social media, especially, where people were selling the false narrative of entrepreneurship, as in you build the thing and you're a millionaire. Or you buy your followers, you buy some ads and millionaire. And even for the people that was true for, because they didn't actually build proper foundational things for their business, after they hit that, what we call a lick, which is just you hit something that's really, really good, whether that's money or popularity or whatever, if you don't have the right foundation and or you don't know how to steward that well, the next year you're in the poorhouse. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what happened to a lot of people. Yes, you made $1 million. Yes, you were in a Bugatti or Maserati or whatever. But 2 years after that, the IRS is coming to seize all your assets because you forgot to pay Uncle Sam. Right? There's certain pieces of this that I think in business, I'm just really passionate about telling the truth. All of it. Right? I wish I understood that earlier. Failing is not an option.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a big difference between failing and failure.
Yes.
So you have to understand that those two, even though they sound similar,
yeah.
there are two completely different things. So you actually touched a lot on what I call the hurdles of stop, the things that stop us from getting across the start line in our entrepreneurial adventure. I'm going to hit a couple of them real quick. Sure. Fearing failure, it's something that grabs us every single time we start something new because we're afraid it's not going to work or it's not going to work out the way we want. But I have an acronym for that, and if you listen to the podcast, you hear me just do it all the time, but it's FAIL, false evidence appearing. Nope, excuse me. First attempt in learning. Especially when you're doing something new, you haven't done it yet, you haven't started yet. It's a brand new thing for you. Of course, there's going to be room for that failure. It's what we do after that failure sets us apart from being entrepreneurs or just the person that throws their hands up in the air. Oh, it didn't work this time. I'm just not going to do it anymore. Yeah. So we got to keep that in mind as we're going along.
Yeah. I think failure is a comma. Failing is a comma and failure is a period. And to me, and I can't say this for anybody else, to me, in my journey, the only way that I'm a failure is if I said, I'm done. Like, I give up. I can't do this. Now, do I have those moments? Yes. But finality of like, I'm completely done. I'm closing down my bit. That to me is a failure. I think that I fail every day. There are ideas that I thought were excellent that were not. There were programs that we started and we're like, that didn't work. And that was a part of all of it. I also think that people are formulating businesses in their heads and expecting it to be like $1 million business first run. When you formulate it in your head and you are making assumptions as to what works and what would work, you're setting yourself up not for just failing, but for failure. Because when you get the market to tell you exactly what they want, how they want it, what they value, then you're able to truly see, okay, I can use this messaging with this offer to these people. And I know for sure, as long as I'm not a terrible salesperson, abysmal, I can really run a successful business. That part, unfortunately, I think small business owners tend to try to skip over. Meanwhile, multi-billion and hundreds of million, whatever corporations, that's all they do. All they're doing is running research. All they're doing is testing and analyzing the results from those testing. And okay, great, this works, do a lot more of that. Let's put a lot more money in that pot because that works. Oh, this doesn't work, pull that off the shelf. Oh, this doesn't work, pull that out. And we're here as small business owners, we have the advantage of going fast, but because mentally we're so scared of failing, we won't even ask people, hey, do you like this? Hey, do you think this works?
Yeah, because we're afraid they're going to say no. And now all this has been for naught. Now I have to go back to the drawing board, start over again. That's part of the process, though. That's part of the hot mess we're talking about, right?
It's data.
So, understand that this is part of what we do as entrepreneurs is getting the information so we can make a better decision the next time around when we do something. So we have this new information. We have what we need to succeed because we ask the questions. Sometimes the questions are just as important as the answers are. So we got to be able to put that out there. And a lot of times, this kind of came to mind too as you were talking. We can't fall in love with the outcomes. The outcome's going to be completely different than what we actually thought we would start off with, especially when we start asking questions and realizing that people like this or don't like this, just like you were saying earlier. It's not going to be exactly what you thought it was going to turn out in your head because you're just a person. You're just one person that has one brain, one idea. The outcome that you hope for isn't going to always be what you actually start with. So make sure you understand that what you end up with isn't necessarily what you're going to start with because, you can't like a thing and expect 7 billion people to like the same thing that you do. Right?
Yeah, so I put this in the context of the work that I do as it relates to visibility. What happens a lot of times is people get really caught up in wanting to be well-known or popular, AKA they want to look at their follower count and be like, yeah, I got a lot of followers. Whether that's 10,000 for you, 50,000 or 100,000, etc. What happens though is when you peel that back and you think about the work that it would take to build that kind of an audience with intention, not buy it, to build it, and for the audience to be mostly people who would be interested in your offer, not just coming from random viral things that you've put out. The work piece, people completely ignore. Right? It is almost like they fall in love with the end result of like, I want to be popular. I want to be well known. I want to be well respected. All of these things. I've come to the understanding that the only way for me to get what I ultimately want is to fall in love with the monotonous minutia The things that is like, okay, fine, I'll post again. Okay, I'll go live every single day. Okay. The things that you will have to do, the person who you will become in the process is actually the point, right? That is the gift. It's not the end result. Because by the way, once you hit that 10,000 follower count, your next goal is going to be 100. You hit 100, your next goal is going to be 500 or a million or whatever the goal is going to be after that. So if your goal is going to always get bigger, because we're entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not dreaming big, you might be in the wrong lane here, right? And so if you're dreaming big, you really do have to figure out a way to fall in love with the middle, fall in love with the ups and start and okay, well, that didn't work. Let me see how okay, great. And it becomes a game of, okay, let me see what works. Let me see the messaging. I'm gonna throw that out. Oh, they didn't like that one. Let me pull that back. And instead of it feeling like a validation or invalidation, that's what it's gonna be. It starts to be just, again, data for you. So when you think about your visibility, think about it as you're playing a game and you're trying to figure out, or not even a game, but you're trying to figure out a puzzle, okay? What pieces go where? Okay, this messaging goes here. All right, great. When I do this, what happens, right? Okay, when I put videos out of me talking straight to camera, oh, that works. Okay, great. How can I actually do that without having to run a whole bunch? Oh, great, I can do podcast guesting and get that same content, splice it, and okay, great. And now I can do more of that. Okay, awesome. What else can I do with that content? Oh, now I can do emails. I can do blogs with the same piece of content. Now you're starting to really understand, not just, oh, I want to be more well-known, I want to be more visible. You are putting in a system that then you can plug and play different pieces in. So by the time you're done, that full picture becomes a more confident business owner. Your messaging is going to be sharper because you've been putting things out and falling flat a lot of times until that one thing really hits. And I'll give you a perfect example for me. I have been talking to experts since I opened this particular business, the Podcast Pitching Society. I've been talking about experts, especially those who have been kind of hidden, which is majority of experts, to be honest, because typically we're not trying to find the spotlight. What I didn't realize is I was saying the same thing, but not using the word that now that I know hits differently. It hits on an identity level versus expert feels like it's a title that you've cultivated over an extended period of time. An introvert is an identity. Mm-hmm. An introvert can be an expert, but not necessarily. But an introverted expert for sure feels hidden. But introversion is deeper and it hits different if I talk directly to an introvert versus me saying to them, hey, expert, different level of connection. And that only happened through me throwing stuff out and hearing and really listening to my audience as they're talking back to me, right? And so it really is a huge part of, to me, visibility is falling in love with the process and the work and what comes from it and who you become through it, not being in love with numbers.
Exactly. And you make a great point to be able to speak your audience's language and understand who they are as a person instead of a number being that one follower that you're going to get from saying that one particular word. Each one of these people have lives. Each one of these people need to hear what you have to say in your voice with your wording. And it's really important to understand that that's the people that we want to reach out for. We're not going to be for everybody. We're not going to be for every 7 billion person that's on this planet. We have to keep that in mind. But if we can say, this is the person that I want to follow me, this is the person that needs my help, this is the person that I want to serve. If we can keep that in mind as we're going through the hot mess, we're going to use that from now on. As we're going through the hot mess, people start following us and realizing we are who they want to follow. And those are the people that we want to be able to speak to. And that's what gives us that visibility that we're looking for.
Yeah, I think so. Again, challenging whoever's listening to this, we oftentimes when we're talking about, this is like going into my nerd zone because this is my background, is brand messaging, That's
Love it.
my jam. A lot of times we sit on the top. The top is, again, where we're talking about moms, right? A lot of people, especially mothers themselves that are entrepreneurs, target other moms. Here's the issue that I'm seeing a lot of. They stop there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Moms that are entrepreneurs. Okay. To me, right, when you're thinking about motherhood, someone who has a newborn or a toddler is not the same mom as someone who has a teenager, and is not the same mom as someone who has a grown adult child. The messaging for all three of those moms, different. You're also looking at young moms versus moms, people who became mothers in their late 30s or early 40s. Different experience, right? Get to now executive moms, women who are in leadership within corporate. Completely different experience, because now they're working a lot of hours and they're still expected to be mom. What does that look like? What's the language that's going to get that particular person emotionally connected to you versus someone who's an entrepreneur versus someone who's, it is not enough just to be on that first level. You need to go to second and third level. The third level is the identity level. So it's not just I'm a mom, but I'm a mom of an autistic child. I'm a mom who was a teenage mom. And now I'm looking for, now that my kid's out of the house, I'm looking for ways to have a different lifestyle. So if I'm doing travel, right, excursions, etc., a whole niche could be, hey, moms of empty nesters who are still trying to have a life, have fun, whatever the case is. Your kids are out of the house, let's go. Different messaging, because now you're tapping into this feeling of, oh my God, my life starts now type of energy. And I can speak to that because a lot of my friends are in this same space in their late 40s, early 50s. They're like, my kid is gone. It's sadness. And then it's like, oh, wait, I could just like leave with no issue. It really does matter how deep you get to understand who you serve, because the more you understand who they are, the better chance you're going to get to someone saying, it felt like you were reading my mind. It felt like somebody was reading my journal. Oh my God, thank you so much for putting into words what I've been feeling for so long. These are all things that I've been told by experts who have been feeling for so long, like I've been doing all this stuff. I'm known by the people who know me for the doing of the thing. I really want to be known for what I know, not just what I do. How did I get to that language and understand that on a deeper level? I spoke to people and they told me that. And so then I told the next prospect and they're like, oh my God, yes. So figure out the different levels of understanding and knowing who you serve. And I promise you, you're going to stand out in the marketplace, because most people are too lazy to do the market research themselves.
And they only get so far with it too, because it's just like you said before, they only maybe take one, maybe two steps and like, okay, let's just start working with that. But there's more to it than that. So you have to be able to dig a little bit deeper to understand who your audience is and how you can reach out to them and the language that you can speak, just like you were saying just a minute ago. So don't just take one step, take two steps, take three steps, understand who are the people that are listening to you and what they want and who they are. You can't just say, I'm a runner, right? There's more to it. I'm a runner over 40 that wants to run a marathon first, that has a bad kneecap. And I'm talking about myself here, y'all. So, but yeah, there's ways to do it. And that's amazing that we can do that. We can pull that out and understand who's listening to us and who our audience is. So that's some great advice. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. By the way, that's the reason why podcasting, whether you're the host or the guest, is incredible. It's incredible because you get to literally speak to people, and whether, again, you're the host or the podcast, you can say, hey, if you're listening to this and you are fill in the blank, I would love to hear your thoughts about this once this episode drops. Drop in the really engage them to understand. I was on a podcast and the podcaster told me she's actually in PR, and she thought the people who were listening were folks that wanted to understand PR more, understand the basics of what she learned was majority of the people listening were also in PR. And they really enjoyed her content about growing their business and getting, and so she pivoted her messaging for her podcast because she now understood who was listening to her and what they actually wanted because she asked.
Yeah, you never get anything unless you ask them. I used to tell that to my son too. You don't know what you're going to get unless you ask the question. If you don't ask the question, then you don't get the answer.
Yeah.
And just like I said earlier, sometimes the question is more important than the answer. You just need to know, do the thing, ask the question more than anything else. That way you learn who they are.
Yeah. And don't be scared. People, if you are a medical doctor and you happen to be walking by someone who is on the ground in excruciating pain, blood gushing from their leg because they got maimed, right? If you walk over and you tell them, hey, I'm a medical doctor, I really would love to help you, put a tourniquet on, I have all of this stuff right here with me, I have the medic. Very few people are going to be like, no, do not help me. If you can address their specific pain point and they're aware, because this is the big one, if they're problem aware, if they know what their challenge is, and you're coming over and giving them a solution, most people are not going to yell at you, don't sell me anything. I don't want a solution. What is wrong with you? But that's in our minds. We're terrified of being told no. When in actuality, you should just get better at qualifying people, getting them to a place where you know already whether or not this person is ready for the thing that you offer. Because you've done enough qualifying to say, okay, yeah, I see all the things, all the signs that said this person needs help. I'm going to go over and I'm going to offer a solution. I'm not going to sell you. I'm offering you a solution to the problem you clearly have. Most people are not going to shy away from that. And so whether it's marketing or sales, you cannot be scared of the people that you're called to serve.
That's right. That's it. I'm going to clip that part out because that was awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right. All right. So I actually have a tradition with all my guests, and I'd like to know where you see you and your company in the next 6 months. Do you have a 6-month goal for yourself? I know you're working on a couple things right now. We talked about it earlier.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So because I'm a nerd, are we talking number goal? Are we talking growth metrics goal? Like, where do you want me to go with this?
Feel in your heart where you think you would really like to see you and your company in the next 6 months.
Okay. In the next 6 months, I would like to be working with 10 to 5 highly engaged and excited clients. And that is it. I don't really want to work with 100, 200 clients. It's not my MO. So the next 6 months, that's the aim, is to get 10 to 15 really, really awesome people that we can partner, helping them grow their visibility through podcast guesting. But I also would see our school community growing to well over 1,000 people. And also the podcast that we're about to launch in January being a resource and getting reviews from people who are telling me that it's changing their business, helping them grow as good, solid business owners and people in general. I really, because again, I'm an operations nerd. On the back end of my business, I want us to feel like a well-oiled machine, because we'd be going into year 2. Year 1 was insane. And so I want to 4X what we earn in this quarter in the next 6 months.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So I wrote those down because in the next 6 months, I'd like to have another interview with you.
Good. Yeah, let's do it.
I want to see if you've actually reached those goals and see what we've learned along the way there. Is that okay?
Absolutely. That would be fantastic. I'm excited about that.
All right. Awesome. So
I'm going to write this down.
Write it down. We're going to write it down. 6 months, we're going to hit all the goals. Okay. So, look at that, folks. She's actually writing it down. I love it. She has her paper right there. That's fantastic, because now you're not just accountable to me, but you're accountable to all the scuba believers that are going to be listening to this episode. So no pressure.
Yeah, well, I'm not pressured. Well, let's just put it this way. There's no way that you can pressure me more than I pressure myself.
There, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. All right. All right, awesome. Okay, this is your time to shine. This is the time I want you to advertise yourself and all of the
Okay.
goodies. I hear you got something going on for Black Friday too, so we're going to go over that right
Good.
now, okay? Ready, set, go.
All right, guys, if you're listening to this and you're even remotely interested in podcast guesting, and let's be honest, we are in a trust epidemic. You need a way to actually get in front of your qualified audience more than just a 1 minute, 2 minute reel. You need to get in front of them and be able to have conversations like these, have it be 30, 45 minutes of you talking about the things that you're passionate about, showing them how you can help their lives change. We are actually giving away the secret sauce, I would say, to our Done For You offer as a do-it-yourself pitch kit. And this entire system, it's a 6-part system we're giving away, not for free, but at a very, very reduced price. When you're listening to this, we will now be in full open cart mode until Black Friday. And every single day, while this cart is open, you are going to miss out on one extra bonus. Now, just for the folks on this podcast, and I'm going to be repeating this just for you guys, you're coming the day after this freebie goes away, but I'm going to offer it just for folks that are on here. The freebie is, if you get the kit, we will also do research for you and give you 6 right fit podcasts that you can pitch right now, meaning the contact information, all of the demographics, the whole thing. We're giving you 6 of that for free. That is a $3,500 value, people, you're getting for free. And because you're listeners of this particular podcast, you're going to be able to get that and all of the other 4 bonuses in addition to the kit for just $997. That is $997. You do not want to miss this. Our services range from anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000. And so you're getting a sneak peek into really premium service. We don't do mediocre over here. And so you'll have the link to hop in and get started. This is a perfect opportunity for you to start pitching now, because even when podcasts are not accepting guests for the rest of the year, they're going to be looking at the folks that pitch them in November, December, come January, as the first people to fill out their pipeline for Q1. So this is definitely the time to get familiar, get your stuff together, and start pitching.
All right, Nan, how will you get hold of you if you want to listen to more good stuff?
Well, Carrolee Moore, Carroolee, 2 R's, 1 L, 2 E's, Moore, Moore, on all platforms. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I'm growing on YouTube, so if you want to give me some love there, absolutely. I do a ton of reels or shorts on YouTube as well. Yeah, I would say LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, find me, connect with me, because we have a newsletter on there and I'm always yapping in videos on there as well. So.
All right, that's awesome. So if you want to take advantage of any of that stuff that we just talked about, or you want to get a hold of Carrolee, look into the show notes. If you go to my website, tuepodcast.net, you look in the show notes there, and I will have a special spot for Carrolee in my podcast guest form if you want to look there and see all how to get a hold of her. All right, Carrolee, this has been absolutely amazing. This has been a very fantastic episode. So much good learning. And I really look forward to talking to you soon again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Scoob.
All right. All right, Scoop Believers. Make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Scoop Believers. That was Carrolee. What a fantastic episode. I love talking to her. She had so much energy. A lot of great advice for all your Scoop Believers out there. But once again, there are 2 major points I want to make sure to touch on. Fall in love with the process, not the outcome. Success isn't about hitting follower counts or revenue goals. It's about becoming the person who shows up every day, learns from failures, and builds systems that work even when they're messy at first. Like she said, when we all start, it's a hot mess. I love that term. It's a hot mess. But as long as we stay consistent and we fall in love, not with the outcome, but with the adventure, with us actually getting there and hitting those goals of putting something out there, that's when things start making a difference. That's when things start making up for you. And the rest just kind of works itself out. Stop waiting for perfect and start building in public. Your competition is gaining trust by showing the real journey right now while you're polishing in private. Take imperfect action today because someday just isn't on the calendar. We have to understand the only way people are going to follow us and know that we are authentic and we are our authentic selves is to have people watch us build in public. Don't be afraid to have people watch the hot mess that's happening in the background. People love that stuff. Show it to them. And as they see you grow, they will want to be a part of your entrepreneur adventure and your journey. And with that, thank you, Scoop Believers, for another fantastic episode, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.